Uh, yeah, hypocrisy, man. This is what we're dealing with. There's big hypocrisy. For example, the psychotic leftist shot some people up, and people on the right are like, "That's terrible. You're inciting the violence. You're responsible for this violence." But if a right winger does it, then they want to go, "Oh, it's free speech. Just you nothing. Just there's some wackos. That's all." This is a good time to do this. You know, and I condemn the violence entirely. I've been saying this is the problem, and I think Trump incites this kind of thing, but not that he's inciting people on his side. He's just the way he acts. The taunting of the left. Taunting. Like, I don't take this cuck insult as like, oh, it's a deep political metaphor. No, you're just trying to piss us off, right? And even if we roll with it and go, well, I'm not going to let that piss me off. We see that you're assholes trying to piss us off. We see that. And I see in the comments of Sticks and Hammer, and the comments of Sargon of Akkad, and the comments of Stefan Molyneux, how when the shit hits the fan and we're all fighting, of course the conservatives are going to win because they're the ones that love guns. Except history's pretty much proven that everybody will pick up a gun. Hindus, Buddhists, whatever. Or machetes or whatever they've got. If you drive people, so you either have to be against it or not. If you think, hey, this kind of violence incites, this kind of language incites violence, then when you have that kind of language on the other side, and your opponents and yourself, they both have to be considered the same. Or you think, yeah, maybe it incites violence, but we have to be responsible, free speech. But you can't go free speech when we say crazy things. You can't say, well, there's just some crazy people when some guy stabs a couple people on the subway, screaming, right wing hate propaganda. But no, you have to be consistent, right? The violence is a bad idea. Anybody that thinks the violence is a good idea is just a spoiled motherfucking Westerner. You want to talk about first world problems. We entertain ourselves with these violent movies and these violent games, and violence is entertainment, but we should probably at least admit at the same time that we're not like my grandpa's generation where they'd go out and beat each other up for fun after the bar closed. You know, we're not we don't actually enjoy the actual violence. It's just this image of it, right? And we would all be worse off if violence breaks out everywhere. If assassination becomes the way we change governments. That that would be bad for all of us. And then on smaller scales, but this is interesting because the petty scales, like for example, I was watching Gary, and people were complaining about his production values and the quality and everything. And he's like, "Oh, it's a one-man show," and that seems really petty. But every one of his replies or comments to me is about that. Like there's a half second of video missing on my cell phone videos at the very beginning. Oh, that's a big deal. Or Heitlade, he said, um, probably it throws question on whether or not I'm a programmer. I don't care if you think I'm a programmer. The only reason I disclosed this because after 10 years, it's kind of come up. I don't want it to be a big secret. Why do I have this way I have of characterizing classical philosophy and epistemology? Well, it's because of the degree that I had and things like this. It shouldn't be a big enigmatic secret. I don't dwell on it. Right? It's just seems like at a certain point that becomes relevant, right? But other than that, I'm a one man show, right? And he says, oh, because what about mathematicians? Are they supposed to be careful about things? Because your fucking audio sucks. It's just hypocrisy. Why would you, when you also don't care about making your production values higher and you're criticizing other people? Well, I don't do that. I'm not a hypocrite. If I use a principle in my own self-defense, then not only do I let you use it, but you won't even have to use it against me because I will see ahead of time. Oh wait, well, that's their sound quality. And if it's too staticky in Gary's video, or I can't amp up my mic in my speakers rather for a Hypocrisy video, then I don't listen or whatever. It's not a basis for a complaint for the same reason that I said, well, I'm just a guy turning on the video. Sometimes there's problems. That's the way that goes. And in my case, I actually appreciate it. I don't people that video that edit their videos and do all that. More power to them. And some people, there's certain careers where that you owe that to your audience. You're trying to make a living off of it. But I value people just talking to other people, which means that maybe the audio will be sucked up. Maybe they're using a mic because they haven't bought a new one yet, or whatever. And there's no reason to be a hypocrite about things so petty and just use excuses, right? Hypocrisy won't answer my demand on his philosophy. And he says it's because, I'm too rude. Maybe I'm not a friend. But he keeps talking to Gary, so I guess he's close buddies with Gary, who calls him a pedophile and says he wants to have sex with his own dog. So I guess that's good enough. Yeah, obviously, I'm not less ethical when it comes to talking to people. No, shh. No, it's fine. Obviously, it's got to be something else. Right? And that something else is also pretty obvious, which is that they have no answer. It's just like skeptical heretic. These people come up with excuses, but they run off and don't want to debate. And they act like, oh, because you're going to try to pwn and I'm above that. No, you spend all your time trying to find somebody, a village that you can consider or cast as a village, characterize as a village idiot, and you go try to pwn them. But you don't want to talk to me because you're going to fail. Because you have no arguments against. You can't even comprehend the arguments, let alone come up with counter arguments. And that's your problem, not my problem. It's your problem. Also, your problem is hypocrisy. There's a tremendous amount of hypocrisy. And people say, oh, you have a message, you want to push your message? Well, no, not exactly. I like to share my message. Pushing it's like, who could bother? No, but you should, and you should make more entertainment and stuff like that. You should give us sugar in there to make us want it. But you're a bunch of hypocrites. How's that going to work? What argument is there against the hypocrite? None. You can't make an argument against the hypocrite. In relativism, there is a sin. It's not like everything is allowed in relativism. And hypocrisy is one of those things not allowed in relativism. You say, here's a principle, it applies, then it can apply to somebody else as well. In relativism, I have my system, you've got a different system. So it's hard for me to hold you accountable to my principles because relativistically, oh, you've got your own principles. But I can hold you to your own principles when you violate your own, when you use some principle you allegedly have to attack somebody else, or you use it to defend yourself and your low production values. But then when it comes to somebody else, somehow that doesn't apply. Even in a relativist system, we can see that that's fucked up. Relativism doesn't say that you don't have to be consistent with yourself. It says that your facts might not be consistent with other people's facts. Your positions, opinions, tastes, they might be different from someone else, but that doesn't mean they get to be different from yourself, right? You can't figure that out.